Welcome back to another video. Before we start, please hit the like button down below, and if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to help grow our channel. Today, we'll be talking about the housing crisis that is currently ongoing in Canada. And most of you are probably aware of this crisis by now and how young individuals cannot qualify to purchase a new home. If you're not from Canada and you're wondering what the average price of a home is, well, let me tell you. The average price of a home in Toronto is $1,117,400. And the average price of a home in Vancouver is $1,212,000. That's absolutely insane. So if you're looking to purchase a home in Toronto, where you would probably put down a 20% down payment, you're looking at a payment of almost close to $225,000. And in Vancouver, that payment would be close to $243,000. I would say that's insane and almost unachievable for most young individuals. When the average income of a Canadian from the age of 25 to 34 is only $45,953, and the average income of a Canadian from the age of 40 to 50 is only $66,968. So from these numbers, it will take you several years to save for this down payment, and as prices keep going up, you're still going to be playing catch up. So now that you have a little high overview of how expensive homes are in Canada, you're probably wondering what has caused this to happen. Sadly, there's just not one clear answer. There's multiple factors that have contributed to this increase in price of housing. So now diving into the factors, the first factor we saw was the low interest rates. We had historically low interest rates, encouraging people to borrow money to get mortgages and buy homes. When Bank of Canada cut interest rates, this made borrowing affordable, honestly, actually really cheap. So this had individuals that were waiting to buy a home could qualify easier for that bigger mortgage and buy their dream home, which caused a huge increase in the demand of housing. So the first-time home buyers are now competing head-on with investors who were also trying to capitalize on the cheap interest rates, which this situation now led us to our second factor, and you probably already guessed it, that there was just so much more demand than actual supply in the market. This caused a huge imbalance of the demand and supply in the market. There were fewer homes in the market, but there were so many more buyers that are willing to buy these properties. And this only caused bidding wars on the older homes that were available on the market. And not just older homes. At that time, we also saw lines on lines of individuals waiting for pre-constructions. There were even cases where people were either lining up overnight or days before to just book a brand new property, as they were just desperate to own their own home. I'll give you my personal experience during the late 2020 market. I was looking to buy a property in Hamilton, and I looked at a decent home in Hamilton downtown. It was an older home and it needed some work. So I thought at that time, as every house was going over asking, I would put an offer down that was over asking by $55,000. I genuinely thought that offer was very generous. The next day, I got a phone call from a realtor, and I find out not only did I not get the house, but there were 27 offers on that home, and wait for it, the house sold over asking by $220,000. That's absolutely insane. I personally do not think the house was worth that much. Plus, it needed some work that needed to be done. But we move. Third factor that is really impacting the housing crisis is the population growth and immigration. As you might know, Canada has been taking on immigration aggressively in the past few years. Just last year, Canada took in 468,817 new immigrants. And in 2024, Canada is also planning to take on another 500,000 new immigrants. And this is being done to supplement our aging population and hopefully bring in individuals that can help us in our job sectors, which have severe shortages of workers. Of course, this has had some critics to come out and voice that maybe Canada's taking on too many immigrants too fast. And clearly, this isn't as sustainable as they thought to be. And that immigration needs to be revisited and altered to help reduce its impact on our housing crisis. Even though the government is aware that the immigration has a direct impact on the housing crisis, the immigration minister has voiced that they have no plans to reduce immigration anytime soon. So you're probably already thinking those are a lot of big factors that are impacting the housing crisis, but we're not done yet. The fourth factor we're seeing is there's a lot of speculative investing that's going on in Canada right now. Canadian real estate has become a very popular investment vehicle for both domestic and foreign investors. And even sometimes these individuals are purchasing properties just for speculation purposes. With the speculation buying, it really is driving up the prices of homes, particularly already in high demand areas. You're probably wondering how is speculative investing actually impacting the market. A lot of these foreign investors that are buying properties in Canada are actually leaving these properties empty. First, we saw this happening in cities like Vancouver and Toronto, but now we're seeing this happen in other cities too, especially Hamilton, which is a big city, but I wouldn't say it's a major city like Toronto. But we're seeing a lot of properties that are just sitting vacant, and these are owned by foreign investors. By not having these properties at least rented out to other individuals, this is causing more strain on the housing market for individuals that are looking to buy their first home, and these foreign investors are just looking for capital appreciation. The government cannot launch the underused housing tax, which is a federal 1% tax on the ownership of a property by a foreign national which is vacant or underused. This was done to help curb this problem of vacant homes so that either these properties get rented out or they just sell the property to another Canadian that can actually use them for their family. We've yet to really see what impact this tax has made. Now moving to our fifth factor, which is supply chain issues and construction costs. Supply chain issues have plagued the construction industry. It's made it very difficult and expensive for builders to get these materials to help build new homes. The delays and increase in the price of materials have been passed down to the buyers, which clearly put an upward pressure on the price of homes. Also, to add cherry on top, there's a huge shortage of construction workers in Canada. RBC's chief economics, Robert Hogue, has come out and said that on average, Canada will need 500,000 new construction workers to help build homes that are needed now until 2030. So if you thought the material costs and the supply chain issues were already bad enough, now we have a shortage of workers, which is just adding to the problem. The last factor that is having an impact on the housing crisis is the government policies and regulations. Government policies and regulations have a huge impact on how new homes are made. The government has an impact from the zoning laws, land use regulations, and other policies that are set by them, which restrict land to help build these new properties. These regulations set direct limits on how much new residential or commercial buildings can be built, which is currently limiting the supply of homes that can be built. If you're from Ontario, you definitely are aware of the Greenbelt. The Greenbelt is actually one of the largest restricted zones in the world. The Greenbelt currently protects farms, forests, wetlands, rivers, and lakes. Currently, the Greenbelt has been heavily debated and if the restrictions should be lifted on this land. However, there's more critics than supporters of this idea, and it doesn't seem like there will be any changes to the current Greenbelt that is in place. So now those are all the factors that are impacting the housing crisis in Canada. Overall, there's just more demand than supply that is needed to build these new homes. Okay, I know some of you guys are wondering, so these are all the factors that we discussed that are causing the housing crisis. How do we fix these? I personally think we can solve the housing crisis. What I really think will help solve the housing crisis, or at least reduce the housing crisis. So if we are bringing more immigrants into Canada, we need more housing, clearly. So why not let's focus on bringing in immigrants that have a construction background or skills that are vital to help with construction in Canada, so that the immigrants that are coming into Canada have a job lined up, and also they can help Canadians with one of the biggest issues that we're facing right now, which is the housing crisis. Another area that needs to be visited is the regulations. There needs to be a reduction in red tape on how and where new housing can be built. More power needs to be given at a municipal level, and more municipalities should be looking at approving construction faster. They should also encourage the building of duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes to help meet our demand faster. Also, I think there needs to be a more aggressive approach with foreign speculation in Canada. If these vacant homes are actually used to be rented out or sold off to other Canadians, this can have a huge impact on the housing crisis and reducing it, or at least putting a big dent in it. Currently, I have no idea if that 1% tax has had a big impact on the vacant homes. If I'm personally thinking about it, probably not. As the price of housing has increased drastically, I don't think that 1% would matter as much to those individuals that are investing in Canada. So more needs to be done on the speculative investing in Canada. I do know currently that the Canadian government has put a temporary ban on foreign ownership of Canadian real estate, but that is only temporary. So we need an actual long-term approach that actually works. Lastly, I personally think this is probably one of the most important parts that no one really is talking about, and that is providing grants or tax incentive to builders. As discussed, there's supply chain issues and materials have gotten really expensive. There's already a shortage of workers, so they're having a hard time getting all these workers to help build these homes. Also, land cost itself has gone up substantially over the past few years. So if we provide grants or tax incentives to builders, logically, as the projects become more profitable, more builders will like to build more properties. I just don't think there's just one thing that we can do to help the housing crisis. I just think that we need to work on all these factors to help mitigate them. And in the long run, we should increase the supply to meet our demand. So in the end, it really just comes down to building more homes as soon as possible. I would love to hear about your thoughts and opinions on the housing crisis, so please comment them down below. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. please stay tuned for future videos. So until next time, remember to keep investing.